If I asked you to define the word community, what would you say? Dictionary.com defines community as a social group of any size whose members reside in a specific location, share government, and often have a common cultural or historical heritage. Over the last decade, though, I think the definition of community has changed. Social media and other online platforms have made the world smaller. Like-minded people from all over the world are able to find each other, share ideas, and feel less alone. No longer, as the Dictionary.com definition suggests, does your community have to reside in a specific location. Online communities can be diverse, healthy, and as fulfilling as local ones. Today's episode is kind of a cool one for me. I'm a big sports fan, and like most Americans, football is probably my favorite sport. Over the last 30 years, through the good and very, very bad seasons, I've rooted for the Buffalo Bills. If you know anything about football, you know that this is not the easiest of feats. While the team has given us year after year of losing seasons, the thing that probably keeps me coming back is the community of fans. Buffalo Bills tailgating on game day is probably the best in the league. It brings family and friends together, and if you Google Buffalo Bills tailgating, you may notice that we have a wild side as well. When I went to college, I moved farther from the Bills. Knowing that I was going to miss the experience of game day, I immediately looked for a community of fans in my new city. I found them. Every Sunday, displaced Bills fans gathered at a bar and attempted to recreate the atmosphere of Orchard Park, the town where the Bills play. Since then, I've moved even farther away. While I don't have a physical community of Bills fans around me, social media has allowed me to follow, support, and stay connected with the community that I love. Staying connected in this way was kind of hard at first. Then, on Twitter, appeared this hashtag that began to pick up some steam. Bills Mafia seemed to come out of nowhere. But typing in the hashtag today points you in the direction of team discussion and fan interaction. The creator of this awesome hashtag is Del Reed. I reached out to him about having a conversation on the Bills and the social media community. Del was kind enough to join me on the pod. As you'll hear, a seemingly random hashtag lit the Bills community on fire and became a catalyst for doing some real good in the world. If you think social media is all bad, or destructive, or full of bullies and predators, you're just wrong. My name is Chris Morandi, and this is Old Cove Road.
If I told you what I'm really thinking, you wouldn't listen for long. Yeah, you'd ask me if I'd been drinking. No, I tell you, you couldn't be more wrong.
Joining me now is the co-creator of hashtag Bills Mafia and the founder of 26 Shirts, Del Reed. Thanks so much for coming on the pod, Del.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for inviting me.
So this journey you've been on has been really awesome and inspiring. I guess let's just start with hashtag Bills Mafia. How did it begin? How did you come up with it? Tell me the story.
The whole Bills Mafia thing was a joke that I made with 4 or 5 of us on Twitter back in early 2011, which was really something I thought was going to be like a one-time tweet, and that was just it, and it just was a little bit of a joke that kept going on, through the summer, that year. And then by, August, it had become this thing where we were selling t-shirts and stuff. So I really didn't know how long it was going to stick around for. But it stuck around so long that we ended up creating a nonprofit.
Awesome. So you said it started as a joke, but when did you start to notice that this thing was picking up steam? Was it fans around the stadium? Was it players? What was the first thing that you remember you were like, ooh, this thing, we got something here?
Oh, almost right out of the gate. The reason there's a Twitter account called @TheBillsMafia is because Stevie Johnson actually told us back then, hey, you should create a Twitter account. And we're like, okay. We just thought we'd just be running this hashtag from our personal accounts. So we did, and then he told everybody to follow it. He had 800,000 followers, literally.
Oh my
and
goodness.
yeah, and so it blew up. Like all of a sudden within a few days we had 1,000 followers, and it just kept going. So it's really, I always joke around and I say that it was our kid, and now it's grown up and left the house, and it's probably going through its crazy college years right now based on what you see on Sunday nights and Monday mornings on social media. But yeah, that was never quite the intent always was kind of like, oh, it'd be cool if this became the de facto name of the fan base. But with that comes some of the crazy hijinks that go on beforehand, which have become like almost like self-perpetuating now as people try to outdo the last weekend's, Deadspin or Barstool showing. But
right, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, that wasn't really part of the plan. But if you're gonna create something that's going to envelop all Bills fans, you're gonna have that crazy contingent, and you're also going to have the old guys who have been watching the game for 50 years.
Yeah, true. And now we're at the point where players, when they get drafted, are on television saying they can't wait to be part of the Bills Mafia. Crazy, right?
That's insane. Like somebody gets drafted. I remember Sammy Watkins was using the hashtag before he even got drafted, just talking about Bills fans. And this was like 4 years ago. That's when you kind of know it's real, when dudes get drafted and right away, or they get signed out of free agency, and right away they're putting it in their profile on Twitter, or they're saying it into a camera like Josh Allen just did.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, yeah, I remember EJ Manuel when he got drafted. He was doing that too. We sent him a wristband and everything, and he was wearing that and everything and tweeting pictures of it and stuff. And it really is kind of crazy how small the world has become due to social media. I remember early on using TweetDeck and stuff, you'd search through the Bills hashtag and you'd have people talking about, future laws, and you'd have people talking about like rent. So now it's at least the Bills Mafia hashtag. If you're somebody who follows hashtags like directly on Twitter, that's a nice to have, in terms of it's easier to follow conversations now, or easier to see who's talking about the team. And now, especially that the national media has picked up on it, that's crazy too.
Yeah, it really has become the de facto way to identify the team and the fans of the team. Your hashtag really has brought awareness to the team, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It is funny when you see people tweet, say, oh, I got to get to a Bills Mafia tailgate. Those people are crazy. And it's like, you want to tell them, like, all right, that's cool and all, but, and welcome, but I hope you know which lots to go to, because the majority of, fans are just kind of hanging out, cooking hot dogs, getting ready to go into the game later.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is. Even like 5 years ago, the Bills were like an afterthought, and now through this name, it's kind of catchy, right? And I don't know if I'd have known that it was going to become as viral as it was, or as it has. I don't know if I would have gone on with that term, because it really was a joke. But it is what it is. That's probably why it's half the reason that it's so catchy is because every other team is a nation or whatever, and then Bills fans have a mafia. So right. It really does kind of like stick out all of a sudden, especially because historically you think through like the drought and the Malarkey years and the Duran years. What a bland vanilla franchise. The team was. I mean, I love them. I watched every game and I cheered for them every game. I don't mean to say that negatively, but like they didn't really have anything defining about them. You know what I mean? They're just kind of like an afterthought. And they still are in a lot of ways, to be honest with you. You look at players like Trey White, who had an amazing rookie season last year, and he's just completely looked over by the national media because he plays in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But now, because of a goofy hashtag or admittedly some of the craziness that comes along with it, Bills fans have a little bit more of an identity now, more so than they have in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now you have a pretty big audience, a local community and an online community, kind of following the hashtag. And with a big audience, comes opportunity. And you chose to do something pretty awesome with the community. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about 26 Shirts. How did we come up with the idea? Where did it come from? Why do I own so many shirts? Let's talk about 26 Shirts. How did it come about?
Yeah, so I've always been a t-shirt honk. Like, I remember my mom yelling at me in elementary school that all I ever wanted to wear was novelty t-shirts, and sometimes it's okay to wear a polo. That's to this day now. I'm 42 years old, and I come to work every day in jeans and a t-shirt. Unless it's nice outside, then it's shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm living my best life. I love it. So I mean, that's always been a part of me. I've always enjoyed, the goofy pictures or whatever on the front of a t-shirt, So, so it's no surprise that when the whole Bills Mafia thing took off, my first thought was, well, let's sell some t-shirts, So a couple of years later, now in 2013, the Twitter account, Facebook account, Instagram had grown to a pretty significant size for Bills Mafia. And somebody reached out to me and said, hey, would you mind retweeting this jersey I'm raffling off? So the jersey was a signed Mario Williams jersey, which was cool at that time. And he won it from Summer Sanders, who is a gold medal Olympian Bills fan. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool story in and of itself. So, it immediately begs the question, why are you getting rid of this jersey?
Right.
And so it turned out he tells me the story about how his daughter was 2 years old and had retinoblastoma, which is eye cancer. Mm-hmm. And he was just trying to raise money because they're in North Carolina. And even though they had health insurance and everything to cover the treatment that she was getting at Sloan Kettering, which is a bit of a hike from North Carolina, New York City, there's still all the other costs associated that, insurance doesn't cover flights to New York City. It doesn't cover, meals. And, there's pretty cool ministries out there like Ronald McDonald House and stuff like that, but it doesn't cover lodging, So they're in need. So I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely. I will retweet your tweet. And we were just coming off of the, you probably remember the legend of Kiko Alonso.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a term that I coined. And it just, again, just kind of throwaway tweet that you don't think is going to be anything. And then all of a sudden, it turns into something. So we were selling, legend t-shirts, and I was having fun. That was like our first, actual, I guess, campaign, you could call it. It was all through Bills Mafia. And we, raised money for a charity and all that. And, so I said, not only that will I retweet your tweet, but next time we sell a special t-shirt, I will give you the proceeds from it. I just want to help. Mm-hmm. And so a few days later, on Monday nights, I go to this men's Bible study, accountability, goof off group. And I'm talking with my buddies, and I'm telling them I had this idea that I could sell t-shirts and, donate the proceeds to different families and stuff that need it. Cause like I mentioned before, I'm a t-shirt honk. So every day I check the daily t-shirt websites like Ripped and Woot, and there's Once Upon a Tee. There's all these different t-shirt websites that sell a different design every day, which for me is bad news. It's not good. When I'm able to get through those sites and a day goes by, I didn't feel the need to buy any of the shirts. I survived today, because my wife is very quick to point out that there's only so much space, in our house. So, for t-shirts and stuff. So,
which means you got to get rid of the dress shirts.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Right. I always joke that I have a collar allergy. So, but anyways, so, I started talking about this. I said, I think I could do it every week, just a different design every week. And my friends kind of talked me back off the ledge a little bit. Said, you can't do that. You'll go crazy. So I said, all right, every 2 weeks then it has to be, because I want it to be relevant. I want the designs to be relevant and something that, people have a connection with at that point in time, And so if you look back in history, there's a lot of shirts that you look at it now in 2018, you're like, why would somebody buy that? But in 2014, people had to have it. You know what I mean? Because something was going on in, Bills fandom or Sabres fandom or whatever,
yeah.
Buffalo in general. So anyways, so my friend Jake looks at me and he says, dude, that's 26 shirts. I was like, yeah, I know, but I think I can pull it off now, because I had met a bunch of artists and stuff over the past couple of years and stuff, just being connected. And then so I woke up the next morning and that was stuck in my head, 26 shirts. And so because it's such a weird name, I was able to easily get a domain and a Twitter account and a Facebook page, and they all match the same name and everything. Nice. And it was originally going to be under the auspices of the nonprofit, the Buffalo Fanbase nonprofit. In fact, that's how I originally announced it. And then, in talking to our lawyer for the nonprofit, she said, you can't do that. if you're going to be dealing with that much merchandise, like the government is not going to be cool with you having a nonprofit. They're going to, it's just, that's not the way it normally goes. She said, because you literally are creating a t-shirt business. I said, yeah, but the money, she's like, doesn't matter. They're going to see that much merchandise moving and forget about it. So, all right. So luckily that, earlier that day I had spoken with somebody here in Buffalo who he called me and said, I saw your tweet or your blog post. Who's printing your shirts? And I said, I have no idea. I haven't got that far yet. I figured it would be like Teespring or, there's even 5 years ago, there was tons of, online sites that make shirts for you on demand or whatever. So, he said, well, can we do it? And I said, that would be awesome. So immediately now I've got, Buffalo Designs helping people in Buffalo, and they're going to be printed by, or at least people associated with Buffalo, and they're going to be printed by a Buffalo company. That's awesome, right? Nice. So then I talked to my lawyer, and then I circled back with Dan, who's the t-shirt guy, Who is the name of the company. And I say, okay, so I just talked to my lawyer, and would you be cool with actually handling the money and the donation and kind of everything, and I'll just handle designs and, marketing it? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So that worked out really well. So, it's still like, I guess you could say loosely connected to the Bills Mafia stuff because it's me,
right?
But there's no official tie on paper between the two.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was in 2013. It quickly took off. To not like anything I imagined. It was originally going to be like a 1-year project that I was going to do, 26 shirts, 26 designs that would help a different person. And at the time I was thinking that each one would be a different artist and all that. I realized pretty quickly on that this is something that could probably go on for a longer period of time. And so now we're in the middle of volume 5, we're in our 5th year doing it. And we expanded into Chicago and into Pittsburgh. And like I mentioned before, in Cincinnati, we had to close that down after a year because we just weren't getting traction. But it's really taken off. And then in 2015, I actually worked at Roswell Park. I mentioned them earlier for 14 and a half years doing web development. And in 2015, I got laid off but I tell you what, it was perfect timing because that was just as 26 Shirts was really hitting stride and was able to, not at the rate I was making in my career up to that point, but was able to sustain a full-time employee being me. And so Dan from Who brought me on as a 50% owner, a salaried employee, and it's been a very quick 3 years since then.
Yeah, that's awesome. So starting a t-shirt company in any regard is awesome, especially if you like t-shirts. How did you decide to make this your mission, though? I know you talked about the family in North Carolina, which, by the way, you connected with through social media. But really, this is a mission to help people, and the t-shirt company is just kind of the medium with which you're doing it. Do you just have the gene of wanting to help people?
Yeah, I've always, I guess I've had that gene, like you said, to want to help people and to make people's loads lighter when I can, But in 2011, it was actually February 2nd, 2011, my then almost 5-year-old daughter had a seizure. And it wasn't like a fever seizure. She had a fever, but it wasn't like a febrile seizure that a lot of children have. Mm-hmm. We found out that she had a seizure condition. And I remember that day taking her to the doctor and just wanting to hand her to him and say, here, just fix her and just bring me back to yesterday when everything was normal and perfect. Mm-hmm. You don't get that. That's not how it works, Mm-hmm. Later that year, she ended up having another seizure as well too. And, it really, and we think that the doctor thinks that she's actually grown out of it now, which is, awesome. Common, but it was that, that moment I remember we ended up having to put a baby monitor back into her room so we could, make sure everything was okay, that she was sleeping, you know what I mean? Cause you don't know. So you want to monitor, right? So, but I just remember the fear and the the confusion, and we have it good compared to a lot of these families we help. Like, it's nothing compared to a kid diagnosed with leukemia or you know, a brain tumor or something. But it was enough insight for me for something to click in my brain, where thinking, you know, there's people in this situation that are much worse off and I want to help, you know, and so, you know, with a t-shirt sale, we're not paying for the kids' full medical care, you know, because a lot of times stuff happens, like, and it doesn't matter if your kid gets cancer. It doesn't matter what job you have. Like, the cancer doesn't care if you have insurance, you know, it doesn't care if you have to quit your job to take care of your kid. It just happens. And so we're not really able to help in that respect, in terms of like, okay, now all your stuff is taken care of, but we're able to provide a little bit of help, a little bit of relief, a little bit of fun during the 2 weeks sometimes, you know what I mean? So they can stop thinking about it for a few minutes, the parents, you know, because as much as we're helping the kids, I mean, my motivation really, because kids are resilient, you know what I mean? And, you know, and I don't know if naive is the word, but all they know is what they know, right? And you know, the parents feel a level of fear as well. And so, at least for me, my heart goes out to the parents. I mean, just as much as it does to the kids. You want to provide that, you know, that hug, you know, or that encouragement. And so focusing on them for 2 weeks, and just say, hey, listen, we're going to sell this shirt and we're going to try and sell 1 million. So far, we've never been able to sell that many, but we're going to try. And we're going to give you, you know, a significant portion. You know, I always tell people we give as much as we can while still being able to stay in business.
Right.
We're going to give you a significant portion, and hopefully that helps a little bit. And we love you, and, you know, we're here for you. So that's really what it is. We have people that buy the shirts that don't even want the shirts, you know, because they want to help the family. And so they buy the shirts and then they say, just give it away to somebody, or they'll buy it and say, well, I'll give it to somebody as a gift or whatever, just because they believe in the mission. So, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling now, but I guess it all started, looking back now forensically, it all started when my daughter had her seizures, and just that insight you have into the helplessness you feel as a parent, not being able to help your kid. I mean, you want to help your kid if they skin their knee, or they stub their toe, or they break their arm. Like, that stuff you can tangibly help with, you know what I mean? But when there's something like going on inside of their body that you can't get at, that you can't see, but it's affecting them, you just feel helpless.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an incredible journey that you've been on. It's funny. It doesn't seem like it's been, in a lot of ways, it's been kind of by chance and lucky, the way it's gone, and what you've done with that chance is awesome. Going through the story of like a joke Bill's Mafia hashtag to helping folks going through some serious medical issues is insane and awesome.
It is. It is, man. Every day I pinch myself and say, how did this happen? I thought I was going to be stuck in a cube for 30 years and then just retire. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, maybe tying this whole thing together with social media and sense of community, those kind of things. You know, if it wasn't for 26 Shirts, I would not have connected or known these families going through these struggles, and I wouldn't have been able to do my very, very small part in buying a t-shirt to help them. And for all the craziness, you know, I wouldn't know the Bills Mafia. You and I would not be having this conversation. And so I think the sense of online communities is good. You know, I work in the children's hospital, in an emergency room, doing stuff, working with kids who are suicidal or going through some other mental health emergency. And parents oftentimes come in and they talk about the phone. The phone is the issue. They're on their phone. Things are bad are going on their phone. I don't know who they're talking to, those kind of things. And I always challenge back, like, there are a lot of positive communities online as well. And maybe the kiddo is online talking with folks who share similar struggles and those kind of things, who may not be able to talk about these things in real life with local communities, those kind of things. And so I think online communities are really important, and thank you for so much for coming on the show because, I think 26 Shirts, and again, for all the craziness that Bill's Mafia brings, it's a really good example of how online communities can be positive and bring people together.
That's really cool, man, especially when you just articulate it that way. That's an excellent point. And it made me think too, like how, cause so many of the people I talk with on Twitter, I've known them now for, 5 or 6 years. And it's funny how our conversations early on were all Bills, 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 Bills. And now they've kind of gone off in different directions. It's because, as much as we love the team, like there's other things in life, Right. And it's kind of funny how that community, which used to be so Bills centric, has now, we talk about all kinds of different things, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like it's become its own little community that all had that genesis there. And I mean, the election year a couple of years ago really was an interesting way to see all these people that you talk with, like how different we are in a lot of, Right. But yeah, that's a really good point, because the joke always was, I guess, Facebook is where all the people in real life and can't stand, and you learn you can't stand them, and then in Twitter it's all the people you have no idea who they are, but you love them. Right. So I mean, I think as Twitter's grown, I think that's kind of changed a little bit, but I think it still rings true because you can really define your community. You can build that out like you just described and find the support that you need.
Awesome. Tell people where they can check out your stuff.
Yeah, it's not too original. It's 26shirts.com, and we're on Twitter at 26shirts and facebook.com/26shirts, and I'm going to let people guess what the Instagram profile name is.
Awesome. And when they buy one of the awesome T-shirts, what happens?
You buy a shirt, and up to $8 from that shirt is going to go to the family or the cause or the child or whatever that you see listed right next to the picture of the shirt on that same page. And then you'll wait a couple weeks. We'll get the shirt out to you, and I promise you'll love it because, as I mentioned before, I'm a T-shirt snob, and I won't sell people anything I wouldn't wear myself. So the shirts are soft, and they'll fit you right, and you'll love it, I promise.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Del.
Dude, thanks so much for inviting me on. It's really cool. I think it's really cool what you're doing.